In this video, we will learn how to configure list views for any object in Lockbox LIMS. When we select an object in Lockbox, we are first taken to a list view which shows us a list of all the records for that object. In this example, we are seeing a list view of all the samples in the lab. We can click this drop-down menu to see other list views that have been configured. For instance, this list view shows all the submitted samples. This one shows only aliquots. And this one shows only derived samples. If you want to create a new list view, we can click the list view controls and select New. We have to give the list view a name. I will create a list view that only shows me samples I've collected today. Notice that the list API name is automatically generated based on the list name. You can also choose if this list view will be available for all users, a select few users, or just yourself. Once you've created the new list view, it's time to add filters. Filters narrow down the selection of samples that are shown in the list view by setting conditions that must be met. Notice that a filter is automatically generated which says that this list view is only showing my samples. I could modify this to show all the samples in the lab, but I will stick with just mine. I will now add another filter, which will make it so only samples that I collected today will be shown. I can do this by selecting the date of collection field and stating that this date must equal today. I could also set this field to equal tomorrow, last week, last month, or any date. I then apply the filter by pressing Save. And now, only the samples that were collected today are shown in the list view. Now it's time to customize the fields that get displayed in this list view, because I want more information than just the sample ID. I can do this by returning to the list view controls and clicking Select Fields to Display. I can now scroll through the list of fields and choose what information I want to show. I will choose to see the box the samples are in, if the samples are frozen, and the name of the samples. I can switch the position of these fields by selecting them and using the arrows on the right to move up and down. Now my list view is updated to show all the information I need. I can also pin this list view so it shows up first when I click the Samples tab. Now you may want to make a new list view with the same samples and fields displayed. To do this, we can return to the list view controls and select the clone feature to create a copy of this list view. The reason this feature is so useful is because now I can take the samples in this list view and filter them down further. For instance, you may want to set a filter that states that the only record types I want to show in this list view are aliquots. Now my list view shows me only aliquots that were collected today. Having list views with all the same record type is very useful because now we can edit these fields right here in the list view. This is called inline editing. You can only inline edit if you have filtered the list view to show one record type, like we did here with aliquots. Notice that when you scroll over some of the fields, they have locks on them. These fields, like sample ID, cannot be edited because they represent intrinsic parts of the sample record. But fields like what box the sample is stored in have a pencil icon, which means they can be edited right here in the list view. We can click the pencil icon and edit each sample one by one, or we can select multiple samples at once and edit them all simultaneously. In this example, I will move all of these samples to a new box. We can do many other actions in our list view using these action buttons at the top. We can create new samples, import multiple samples, add the samples to a pool, create derived samples, and delete the samples in bulk. For this example, I will click Thaw to thaw multiple samples at one time. Notice the frozen checkbox is now unchecked to represent the thawed out samples. Now I want to rename this list view. I can do this by returning to the list view controls and clicking Rename. And then when I'm done with the list view, I can use the list view controls to delete it. This demonstration focused on list views for samples, but making list views can be done for every object in Lockbox LIMS.